Alrighty, welcome back to Cinema Pursuit. Today we are talking about a 2017, honestly, classic movie. It's a movie that's been memed, it's been loved, and it's one of the most important movies we need to be talking about right now. And it's obviously Phantom Thread. No, I'm joking. It's Paddington 2. And I've got a great guest with me today, coming back on the pod, Marley from Marley Loves Film. He's named himself Marley Brown today. He's part of the Brown family from the Real Lovers podcast. What's going on, man?
Hey Vikash, glad to be back on the Cinema Pursuit podcast. Thank you for having me back. I'm really glad to talk about this movie,
Yeah, I
Paddington 2.
know.
Oh well,
I've
Minecraft
got a
movie.
problem.
You kind of snuck at the like. I was so amped to talk about a Minecraft movie, but I'm down to talk about Paddington 2. So
Apparently, I've got a problem with saying hey man, come on for the pod. We got to talk about a movie that's talking, it's dealing with family.
yeah,
It might have some sort of inanimate, it might be a bear, it might be an ape
it might be a bald-headed man with that drives fast.
who sips Coronas apparently.
yeah.
But yeah,
Oh.
No. Before we get into Paddington, Real Lovers podcast, I was just on there. We did The Village for your
Mhm,
M Night Shyamalan series for the lobby. What's
mhm.
going on? What are you doing next? What can people expect from you soon?
Yeah, everyone should go check out the Village that I did, the Village episode that I did with you, and still going strong with the M Night Shyamalan retrospective series. Also, the Letterbox Top 250 series that I'm doing as well for the main show. And yeah, we're just watching movies over there, writing on the reallovers.com, and yeah, just just trying to make it through 2025, watching movies and talking about them. So
Now I'm trying to make it through the next, I don't know, 50 years of my life. I don't know what to say.
hey, one day at a time, one
One
day
day
at
at
a
a
time,
time.
one
Nah,
movie at
I
a
gotta
time.
turn on Bob's Burgers. That's what I gotta do.
Yeah,
I see you got the shirt on.
you definitely need to get on Bob's Burgers.
I've
So
seen too much Bob's Burgers, to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, it's this episode, it's too much. So
mm.
I've been giving it a little bit of a break. So it's like, oh, I can go back a little bit later.
I feel like with that show, I got really into it right before the movie came out, a Bob's
Yeah.
Burgers movie, and then I kind of fell off a little bit, mainly because I don't have Hulu anymore, and then I'm just kind of waiting for the right time to like jump back into it. I think I'm on season 6 right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, of the
I have
show.
I've been watching since season 4, season
Hmm.
3. So I've been a
Yeah,
fan for a long time. Every
yeah,
week, Parks and Rec, that Abbott Elementary recently, a lot of good comforting comedy shows out there. And
yeah.
Bob's Burgers, that's the one where it's like I used to watch that at dinner or watch it with my brother. A lot of good memories with that one. We're gonna be doing something with it this year on the pod, hopefully.
Hmm.
You might be on, Maria might be on. We'll have a little fun with it.
Hmm.
But now to Paddington. And we're doing 2. We're not doing 1 today, even though we'll talk about 1 a little bit.
Hmm.
Because it's this is the one where even what's that movie? The Nick Cage movie where they even mentioned it in there, right?
Unbreakable Weight of
Yeah,
Massive
yeah.
Talent. Yeah, with
That's the one.
Pedro Pascal and Nick
Yeah.
Cage.
And I'm like, it hit the culture. And this is
Hmm.
what are your memories for this? Because I remember being like, I guess it's a kids movie, like the first one. I don't know. I don't know what Paddington is. I'm like, is this the Berenstain Bears but English? I'm down to watch it, and I did, and I loved it.
Hmm.
What
I,
about
I
you?
I think my history with this movie, I wasn't really into Paddington all that much. Like I was knowledgeable of the children's books like when I was a kid, and then when the movie came out, remember when the first one came out, I was working at the movie theater. I was like, this looks harmless fun, and I would do theater checks on it. I'm like, this is really cute. I never actually watched it until I rented it at the video store, and I actually was really pleasantly surprised on like the themes and how smart like this movie is. Like it's very funny that I brought up like a Minecraft movie at the within the first few minutes of this podcast recording, just because all of the critiques on that is that it's a dumb kids movie. Paddington really proves that you can make a kids movie and it can be smart, and it doesn't have to be necessarily for like adults, and you can bring your kid along too. It's like bring the whole family, and that's what I think I really love about like this the Paddington series, as well as 2 for sure.
And I think it's something where it's like you can make great dramas, great comedies, but I think one of the hardest movies you can make is a great family movie.
Mhm,
And meaning that it's a movie that kids can pick up on what's going on, they can follow the story, but when you
mhm,
come back to it, the parents watch it. There's definitely some jokes that you're not going to get. There's definitely some themes you're not going to understand. And those are things that make them great movies. And it's like, just because everybody watches them and they're PG rated doesn't mean that they're bad movies or they're lesser than Goodfellas or something like that, right?
mhm,
Because it's like we give the benefit of the doubt to the kids sometimes, but not really in general. Because we say kids are smart, but the movies don't want to treat them as smart. So it's like,
mhm,
what are y'all doing with that? And biggest movie last year was Inside Out 2. And that
mhm,
the original movie was a great idea, very emotional story, and they brought it back and they did something great with it. But it's very rare that they do those things. And it's like that's an IP now. This is an IP also, but they're doing something special with these movies. Like this is a movie that answers a lot of my complaints for modern movies. Because it's not
mhm,
like it's an old-fashioned movie, because the amount of CGI in this movie, the amount of just modern filmmaking is
mhm.
crazy. But it feels old-fashioned. But so it's like they're really tackling something very cool, very awesome with this one.
It really touches on, especially in 2, it touches on kind of like this Wes Anderson aesthetic, like, especially in some of the shots, how everything is framed and kind of like almost like, especially like when the fold out book comes in the picture, really beautifully animated and just kind of like, just this movie's just fun to look at. It's really fun to look at. So
Bro, that's a cop out. That's such a cop out answer. No, reason
yeah.
why is because you say it's like Wes Anderson, but it's
Hmm.
not. This is not Wes Anderson. It's Wes Anderson esque. It's
Hmm.
got like costuming and production design and everything that kind of feels modern, but it's kind of old. Even though
Hmm.
I don't even. What's the last contemporary movie that he made? It's been a minute since he made a contemporary movie,
Yeah.
and the thing with this is like the camera movements and everything is completely different to West, but it's that same sort of like it feels old but it feels new at the same time. It's kind of retro. It's like, have
Hmm.
you watched The Studio yet? It's kind of like that. It feels 70s but it's a modern story, and it's an
I
odd mix of things but it works.
I haven't watched the studio yet, but I'm very intrigued to watch that. But I
I was
do agree with
surprised.
you.
I didn't realize that Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, they haven't directed like anything big. They did The Preacher, a couple episodes, a
Hmm.
couple things here and there, but they haven't directed anything since The Interview. And they
Hmm.
directed this show, and it is genuinely like film Twitter. Like if you're into movies, this is like brain rot, funny parody comedy for us. So I
Hmm.
highly recommend watching it. You're gonna enjoy
Yeah.
it. But like I said, the style is there. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like we need to give them credit because it feels like they do it so effortlessly that they don't get credit for it. And this is not
Hmm.
something, you can't just plug it into AI and get another Paddington out of this.
Yeah.
Do you know what Jay, I think it's Jay the Chew on Twitter, every single day he edits Paddington into a different scenario. I don't know if you
Hmm.
follow him. It's one of my, literally, that's the only reason I keep Twitter is because of him. Because so I can see everything that he does. Like, oh, where's Paddington today? Oh, is he on top of the train with like Tom Cruise, or is he gonna be in whatever the White Lotus, whatever it is? He's gonna be somewhere, right?
Yeah. Well, Paddington was on top of a train, especially at the end of this movie, which
No. So when he got on
literally
top of the train at the end, I was like, wait, is this Mission Impossible 1? Or is this Dead Reckoning? Did they
not only
copy this?
exactly, like Tom Cruise, eat your heart out. It's like, or especially like the scene. I know we're not at this action as the juice segment yet, but I just want to talk about that since I brought it up. Like when Paddington like leans back, I was like, "What is this? The Matrix or something?" Matrix or Indiana Jones, like when when Indiana Jones ducks when that train goes into a tunnel. So it's insane. But we'll talk about that more when we get to
But
it.
see, that's the thing. I keep talking about it where it's like we talk about a lot of movies, a lot of great movies, and great
Mhm,
movies typically are not one genre. Yeah, you might
mhm,
have a horror movie, but it's kind of leaning into something else, family story, something like that. This
mhm,
movie, yeah, it's a family story. It's got a fugitive story. It's got a like the human story, even though it's a
Mhm.
bear. It's got a little bit of a cooking story. It's got a treasure hunt. It's got all the action. It's got everything, and it's like
Mhm.
sub 2 hours. And they come in, you get a full story, and you're out of there. You don't need 10 episodes for something like this. And I feel
Yeah.
like they might juice Paddington to 10 episodes. He doesn't need 10 episodes to show, give a reminder as to what we need to do in this world.
He needs 10 movies. That's what Paddington needs. So
I mean, Paul King's busy now, right? He made one. Literally, I finished Paddington 2, like rewatching it, and I was like,
mhm.
crap, I need to watch Wonka now. I need more of this energy. And
Mhm.
I've seen like 15 minutes of Wonka, but I haven't watched the whole movie yet. The Timothy Chalamet one, obviously. So I'm
Mhm.
excited to watch that now. I'm gonna watch it soon.
Yeah,
You
and
actually
because
okay?
he
Random
didn't
fact, real
direct.
quick. We
Oh,
talked
go
about
ahead.
this. You know who voiced Paddington Bear in Ukraine, right?
Yeah, it's Zelensky. President Zelensky. Yeah.
President Zelensky was Paddington Bear, man. That's something to behold right there. And it's just like, oh yeah, Paddington's fighting a war now.
He did it in 2, right? He did the voice in 2, right? Or did it for both?
Yeah,
Both movies. Okay.
at
I
least
I
one,
wasn't sure if it was for 1 or
probably
both
both.
okay, yeah.
But he's falling in line of many actor turned politicians, I guess. But I
Yeah,
mean, we ain't
what are you
gonna
gonna
talk
do?
about all that. But I think I got a question for you before we get into
Mhm,
all the big stuff.
mhm,
Because for me, I was thinking about it. I was like, why didn't this movie make $2 billion? I feel like this movie could have made like $1 billion because it is that good to me.
mhm.
I want to ask you, if Paddington was in the real world, do you think he would survive?
I don't well, I think that's a very interesting question because I think what the reason why I love Paddington so much is the fact that he like regardless whether he's a bear or not, like this is about like a person or a character navigating a world and that doesn't necessarily understand social cues and kind of like it says like the wrong thing in certain situations and how he kind of like adapts himself through life and kind of and seeing like other people's reactions like even like the scene where he's talking to Phoenix and he's like, oh, you're a famous actor, not anymore. I'm like, that's something you don't really say. That's something you don't really say. And like even like when you or someone like myself that kind of that has like those certain interactions where I kind of say like the wrong certain things to people,
Yeah,
like usually that doesn't you the world doesn't treat those people very kindly. But I don't know, I think what's great about that is that Paddington also brings out the best in people, and whether he says the wrong things in certain situations, he makes people think and allows them to kind of like make the best of themselves by looking at themselves from within. And I think that's important to have in the world. Even though it's very telling at the end of this movie where he's like, where you can cut this out if you want because I don't want to get canceled for this, but it's very telling towards the end of this movie where the dad of this film basically, when Henry Brown basically says that Paddington brings out the best in all of us. I'm like, would that work today if Paddington is like interacting with Nazis in a way? I think Nazis are bad no matter what, but I don't know. It's yeah.
but see, that's why I ask. I always my throughout everything. We talk about apes, Blade Runner, Remember the Titans, everything. I think that everybody has a potential for change, and that is something
Mhm,
where it's like if you want to change, you're able to change. Everybody has a humanity within them.
mhm,
If they want to keep it, they can change and
mhm.
practice kindness. And
Yeah.
I think he would survive in this world. And I think I see myself in Paddington in a sense that if we're not kind, and I'm not, okay, let's parse it real quick. Being nice and being kind are two very different things.
Mhm,
Being nice is a convenience, being kind is something that no matter what's going on, you choose to take the higher road and have manners and have respect for one another. And
mhm,
that's what he does in this movie. And it's something that we should all be doing because it doesn't
mhm.
matter who we're looking at. We don't know what people are dealing with, we don't know what cards they've been dealt, but we should always strive for respect and
Mhm.
not be, and it's not like Paddington lets somebody like walk over him, right? The
Mhm.
best part is when Knuckles says something about his aunt Lucy, right? What does he do? He gives him the look, right? He bean mugs him, right? He's like, hold
Yeah.
up, like don't be. He didn't say like he didn't tell him off. He was like, hold up, you can't be doing this. This is not the
Mhm.
way to be doing this.
He
And
side eyes them.
it's like and at one point Paddington, when he's walking into the prison, he's walking into prison, and he's like,
Mhm.
"Manners, Paddington." He's reminding himself that like I am a person of like I've got respect, I've got these morals, and I gotta carry myself accordingly. I can't let my aunt down. I'm a representation of her essentially, right?
Mhm.
So I
He
mean,
is the reason why he is the reason why he is in London at this point, or she is the reason why Paddington is in London, or why he is who he is today, and that's why he loves. Like, this is why I, I think Anne Lucy and Paddington is probably one of the best on-screen duos like in film history, just because of their relationship and one how Aunt Lucy saved Paddington. She didn't have to, she chose to save him, and it goes back to a little bit to why I love the Wild Robot so much from last year in 2024, just because she didn't have to raise Paddington. She could have just saved him. It's kind of like moved on with her life, but she chose this, and chose to kind of like instill her values in Paddington, and kind of let Paddington kind of like live with her and just and make his own decisions, but also like live with kindness. I love it so much. But yeah.
because it's like I understand before anybody gets in the comments about this,
Mhm.
even though no one ever gets in the comments about it, but you know what I mean.
Mhm.
For perpetuity, that we live in a time. We've always lived in a time where bad things happen, terrible things happen, and people are always conspiring to do something terrible, and people use that as a reason to lose their humanity. And despite all odds, despite whatever happens to Paddington, man is literally sentenced to jail for 10 years, right? Yes,
Mm.
say it's a kid's movie, but it's a very real situation for him in his life,
What
right?
wild that he went to jail for 10 years for not even stealing a book, but being accused of stealing a book. That's kind of a long sentence for stealing a book, but I don't know.
I
Yeah.
mean, knowledge is power, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, true. Yeah.
That actually
Exactly.
that actually is a very interesting thing, that
Mhm.
the value of knowledge that it shows within the movie, that it takes 10 years, and it's like we live in an era where they're trying to take books away, they're trying to take knowledge away from people, and that's like a whole other thing.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Despite all odds, Paddington is resilient.
Mhm.
He keeps his humanity. He keeps his bear manity. and
His
he
bare
cha-
necessities.
and he changes hearts, and he changes minds.
Mhm.
And it's like at every turn he is dealing with very intense things, right? Very like realistic. Oh, like, I'm gonna beat you up in the jail, you discolored our clothes, they're all pink now, and it's hilarious. And it's like, no matter what happens, he flips it into a good situation. And it's not
Mhm.
like he's like conspiring in his head, and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. It's just his outward emotion towards people is what changes it for him. It's that
Mhm.
the kindness dictates everything else. It's not his decisions that dictate everything else, even though his decisions are coming out of kindness wherever he is, right? Because the whole movie, it's the inciting incident is that, like, oh, I want to get this book from my Aunt Lucy. She's done so much for me. She didn't have to do this, and she sent me here, and now I just want to do one nice thing for her. Right? So
Mhm.
that's the whole movie. And that's why the ending is just, oh man, the ending is so good.
The ending is good, but I personally, we could talk more about this like when we get to it. I kind of wish that there was a little bit more there. It just kind of ends a little bit. You don't necessarily get. Well, I think that's what the next movie is for, Paddington in Peru, to kind of
Still
like
haven't seen it.
uh, yeah, but I would like this movie to stand a little bit more on its own. But I think the ending is pretty solid. Where it's just, yeah, it's very emotional, and just like I love I like you said you saw a lot of Paddington in yourself. I see a lot of Paddington in myself too, as someone that, like I mentioned, like adopted and want want to make my mom proud, and Paddington wants to make like Aunt Lucy proud, and I just want to give back to like my mom in like some sort of way that she can see that like, oh wow, Marley's actually doing something like that that one he loves, and also something that I like expected him to do. And that's why I love like the whole Aunt Lucy and Paddington relationship, because it's just two people just wanting the best for each other.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a very real thing. Take
Hmm.
out, obviously it's a movie. It's, it's a bit lofty and, the ideas that it's spinning, but fundamentally that emotion is very real. It's very authentic. And it's like everything in the movie. And I'm one of my favorite things that I pick. I don't know. I didn't think about it last time I watched the movie was the brother. And when he's like, oh, I'm trying to be one of the cool kids. I'm trying to be one of these London boys,
J Dog.
J Dog, my man, J Dog, right? And by the end of
J
the
Dog
movie, he's
likes
like, nah,
trains.
like I love steam trains.
Mhm.
I was like, oh, at the end of the movie when he's like steam trains, I'm like steam trains. I'm like, let's go, steam trains. But it's like
Right.
embrace the passion. That's all it is. And it's like it's something where even the sister, she embraces her passion of getting on the case, the journalism. Obviously I always love that, but it's like all these emotions, they feel real. They're something that we need. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of Mr. Rogers, except this
Mhm.
is obviously a much more like flowed out format of a movie instead of little shows. I don't know. Did you ever watch Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, all the time. That was like one of my after school shows for sure. So.
Because one like PBS was always giving. I don't know. Even though I did have the other channels, I was lucky enough to have all the 60 other or 70 other channels.
Mhm.
Always watched PBS, and I love Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, as PBS was kind of like, I was raised by PBS early on just because we didn't have a lot of money growing up. We didn't get like satellite TV till I was like, I would say like in middle school, and then even then I would still go back to PBS just because like it like support public broadcasting just because it's like
Exactly.
it's especially now more
Support
than ever
public
just because.
broadcasting, public libraries, public,
Mhm.
these are public institutions. It's not
Mhm.
even like it's something that's optional. It is necessary to
Mhm.
provide that. If you want kids to learn, you want kids to have enriched environments that are not with these phones, then, oh, that's a cool shot right there. I'm getting
Oh jeez.
distracted. But yeah, we just need to learn. And it's like I have so many memories going to library, whether it's movies, whether it's books, whether it's comic books. I just had a resource, and I was you're when you're in a physical space, you're able to explore. And it's like, the physical space of a phone is not really helping anybody nowadays. It's helping, obviously through the power of the internet, but it's reductive. It's not helping us. And these Paddington books were turned into movies, and it's something magical. So
Mhm.
it's about that time. Action is the juice. The first action of the juice for me this year. Last pod, Zach was like, "Oh, I should have called Zach in part because from India, so he can come and do this for me because I can't do it properly." But action is the juice. The best scenes of this movie. Most juice scenes for you, Paddington. Drop me in on action is the juice for Paddington 2.
The scene that really stood out for me for Paddington for actions is the juice is like you mentioned, like Paddington goes to prison, and so he's kind of like navigating like this whole thing. And the thing that really, especially on this rewatch, I never really this never really stood out to me like all that much on like my first watch, but after watching Sing Sing, one of your favorite movies from last year, I
Ooh,
love the scene where Paddington he's basically in this room full of like dangerous individuals and doesn't know
yeah.
what these people will do to him, but he approaches them with kindness and see them how they are, and brings out the best in them, just like how like in Sing Sing they all bring out the best in all of everyone, like even like with Knuckles, like everyone was like, oh, don't talk to Knuckles, like don't say his food is bad, but he saw Knuckles for who he is and says that you can do better than this, and teaches him how to make a marmalade sandwich, and kind of changed who he is and changed
You know
like
what it
his
is,
whole
right?
outlook. It
You said
changed
it in
his outlook on life.
when
So.
we did Dawn. He made everyone's making prejudgments, right? They're
Mhm.
prejudging people, and that
Mhm.
prejudgment is a misjudgment, right? Because you're not seeing the human behind the judgment, right?
Mhm.
If you let people if you choose to just be ignorant, you're going to become extremely, extremely pessimistic. You're going to be sad. You're going to become angry. And that's what
Mhm.
happens. And you expect these people to just stay angry if you treat them. And it's not like you have to go out of your way to do these
Mhm.
things. I'll make a point about this real quick, that no matter where I go on this earth, and I just went to India, I went a couple other places, and no matter where you are, no matter what language you're talking in, if you just are nice to people, if you don't you, if all you say is hi, right? All you do is smile, you will change people's lives. Like, it does not take a lot. Yes, Paddington does a big effect, but it does not take that much to make an effect on people's lives. And it's like Knuckles with an N, not even a K. he obviously has an effect on him, right?
On
And
his
he's and
knuckles.
even he
On his knuckles. It's-
it's you know what it is. It's you what they did. They were like, oh yeah, we love that gag from We're the Millers. No regrets. Let's
yeah,
do it.
let's do it.
We're the Millers is low key like underrated.
There, no, I don't want to. I don't want to get too much on a tangent, but I love We're the Millers.
No,
That's a
I'm due
solid
for a
film.
rewatch. Catherine Hahn, Nick Offerman, just in the in the deep cuts of the cast too. Like,
Hmm.
I have a few. I did a few for Actually the Juice,
Hmm.
because, or actually no, I've got a couple, not a few, because it's like my first one is like it's like a double parter of the effect of
Hmm.
before and after of like Paddington in the neighborhood. As soon as we show up, he obviously we get like the great catch up like with the family. All that's awesome. We get to see what they've been up to after, the Paddington effect afterwards, after he's been there. And then he runs outside. There's a lady on the bike, gives her the
Hmm.
sandwich, right? We see what happens when she doesn't have her sandwich. He rolls by the doctor with his keys, right? The Indian doctor.
Hmm.
The woman, obviously, with the parrot at the newspaper stand. The garbage man, the colonel, who's, obviously dealing with something. They don't go into it, but he's dealing with something.
Hmm.
And it's like, even he's feeding Wolfie in the in the, what do you call it, in the alley, right? He doesn't have to do all this.
Hmm.
But it's like, even when he gets into the shop with Jim Broadbent's character, right? The antique shop, the
Yeah.
effect of like Paddington in his neighborhood is something to explore, because it's like one thing to take from this movie, if you don't listen to anything else about this movie, is that we should all be our own Paddingtons in our neighborhoods. You should not be someone who like, oh, I hate that guy. Not to be, so dismissive, but it's like, if the demeanor you give off to people is like, oh, he's kind of, like, I don't like, it doesn't matter who you are. It's like, no matter what it is, like, we should try to be amicable with people, if not nice to people. And it's like, take the leave the politics, because the politics is always going to be there, hut to
Yeah.
hut, heart to heart, that if you want to love, we must love and be present in our neighborhoods. Because it's like, people want to say politics, they want to say we got to go higher to make changes. No, the changes we make are here today, around me, around the people I know. That's the presence we have to have, and our actions change other people's actions. Do they not change everyone's actions in the neighborhood where Paddington lives? And it's like, why am I looking into Paddington this hard? Because I believe this, and I've seen the effect this has. This is a real thing that we all need to do in our lives. And it's like, yeah, he uses marmalade, but we don't all have marmalade, right?
Well, no,
we have different tools.
our marmalade is exactly what you said. Is like a smile when you're
Yeah,
walking down the street. Like when I'm walking on the sidewalk and I pass someone, I smile at them or I wave at them, just because, like you said, you don't know what someone else is going through, and just because like someone looks a certain way, or you don't like the way that person like walks, or just, or like,
they're wearing a
oh,
hoodie.
they're wearing a hoodie, smile at them, because like you said, no matter what culture you're in, a smile go a smile translates to like happiness or makes someone feel good. Like, no matter, like, you don't have to like speak like a certain language. A smile is translated the same throughout all languages, and that's why I love this movie so much, because one, it's going to heal us. It's going to heal us as not only like a nation for like the United States, but also just the world too. Just because, if Like you
But
said,
that's what
more
I'm saying.
people. Mhm,
That's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter United States. None of that matters. Matters
mhm,
just like I am here wherever I am. I am currently positioned in Georgia. So I
mhm,
am in my little I'm in my little place. Let me try to do something here. Let's say I'm in St. Louis. Let me do something there. Let's say I'm in Czechoslovakia. Let me do something there. Let me make a difference. Because it's like you could go even further into it, right? Paddington is a bear. People are
mhm,
prejudging the bear already, right? And despite them prejudging him as a bear, he's going out of his way to show, like, hey, bears are kind too.
mhm. Yeah,
You get what I'm talking about?
I I know
It doesn't
exactly
matter
what you're
what
talking about.
xenophobia you want to attach to it, but like xenophobia can be even healed with presence.
Mhm,
Because we live in a country where after 9/11, things started to get very bad with brown people. And you watch any number of shows, go to Homeland, right? Things are
mhm,
like you just dismiss a whole group of people that live in a certain place and just say that, oh, everyone is bad there. No, everyone is not bad there. And it's like, if you have exposure to them, then that
mhm.
makes a difference, right? Like, oh yeah, I met that guy. He's from that place. Oh, he's nice. And it's like, then you start to like second guess yourself, like, why do I feel this way about these people, right?
Mhm.
And it's like, that's why it's like, you cannot sit in your little hole. You can't just be like, oh, these people are bad. I don't want to talk to them because they're bad. The only way to heal people from that is to be around them, no
I
matter what you think.
I'm really glad you said that just because this is what hopefully this doesn't lead down like another hour tangent, but this is what I think is important about the documentary No Other Land is
Yes,
that
yes.
it 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 shows like the Palestinian people in such a like it just a one in a wholesome way because you see like children kind of like interacting like they're on phones like they're wearing pretty much the same clothes we're wearing and people here in the states are seeing wow this person is just like me and their rights are being stripped away from them and
Yeah,
just getting taken out of their homes if that happened to me and especially like in America where everything is very individualistic
yeah.
and
That's a
like we
Western
own
thing. It's a
yeah
Western
very
thing in general. Yeah,
very, very Western thing. Once people see like, "Oh, if that ever happened to me, I would hate that." So, like, that's what's that's what's important just because it's like you need to get people to like, "Oh, that person just looks like me. If that happened to me, I would be angry." And then that's when we kind of can come together as a human nation instead of like just separate nations like all together. But that's a we could I think you guys should cover No Other Land on the podcast for sure, but
and we talk
it's
about it. You
good.
know, I've said it many times.
Mhm.
We talked about it on Apes too, where I'm like,
Mhm,
Paddington is a bear, yeah, but he's a bear. Is a bear with free will. Therefore, he is a human. We
mhm,
all have the same free will. And the one thing we can do is to make sure we don't hurt others and don't hurt their minds, right? And that's
mhm,
something where I'm like, I find myself in my day-to-day life, I'm like, how am I able to not hurt other people? How am I to live in the least hurtful way possible? And that's not an easy thing to do. And to have the consideration to do that and try to pursue that is something that we take our whole lives doing. And it's like, it doesn't matter. Like I said, it doesn't matter where we are. We should pursue those things because it's not a one and done. If things were easy, life would be easy, then there's no point of living, right? Like if
mhm,
we were content, we talked about this on the village, that if people were content, if we had everything, there's no point in living. So it's like we need something and we need people in our lives. And it's like we can't say that we're united to hate somebody else. We're united in a distrust. We're united in a fear. We have to be united in a more wholesome way, in a more, not in a dividing factor, but in a uniting factor. And it's so simple. It feels simple to me, but it's like we all have to consider these things and think about them for ourselves. Because like leave the door open. It doesn't. You never know what's gonna happen, right?
mm,
I was watching something yesterday, and a woman was talking about how after COVID, she could not find connection, and she went on like friend dates and all this stuff, even with masks and all that, and they were going to events and doing all this stuff. And she was like, the way I found a way into someone else's life as like a friendship, where it's like it doesn't matter what we're doing, we're just existing, was I watched my neighbor's plants while she was out of the country.
mhm,
And that level of trust to have in me to do that, even though she isn't there, catered like it like fostered something in within her, right? And it's
Mhm.
like it's the simplest things that can change all of us. That's like we're not as men, we're not complicated. You know this. We are not complicated individuals. That's why
Yeah.
it's like I don't know, it clicks for us. And some other men, they ignorantly avoid these things, right? Maybe they're like Buchanan, maybe they're full of themselves. That's the problem. They have different versions of themselves, like populated around the room that they're just talking to.
Mhm. Yeah. Or
I
doing
do want to talk.
dog food commercials.
We're gonna talk about that when I get the dialogues. That's one of my favorite lines of this movie. I
That's
think when we did a game night, I had to write down all the funny lines because there's so many funny lines in the movie.
mhm.
But action is the juice. I got to throw in the action real quick. We already talked about the steam train because it really was Tom Cruise shenanigans right there.
It's insane. It's
It's
like I
so Tom
forgot.
Cruise.
I honestly forgot, like, especially that the like this scene actually happened because even Paul King really kind of like he went full throttle, like no
No,
pun
but it's like
intended,
it's full
just
on
because.
in Ghost Protocol. Tom Cruise is using the sticky gloves to get up the building. And what does he do in this movie? He mixes like the
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 candy
Mission Impossible
apples,
sequences together. The candy
yeah.
apples to stick himself. I was like, hold up. I literally had to pause and start typing like in my notes. I was like, hold up, this is something special.
How did Noah like it's so? Did he put like the candy apples in between like his toes? Because like watching it like the first time, I was like, did he just stab himself in the foot?
Cinema. Cinema. That's all it is. It's
Right.
cinema.
He'll do it. This Paddington will do anything for family to get back to his family. He will stab himself with the back of a candy apple stick. uh,
That being said, the other part that I really, really enjoyed was the hot pursuit of the break in when he's been working so hard. He's been getting the £1,000 together to
mhm,
go ahead and buy Aunt Lucy that pop up book of London. So
mhm,
she has a vision of London. But
mhm,
then the guy breaks in as like this, whatever, none to do kind of bad guy. We don't know. Obviously, it's Hugh Grant. And it's like he starts to get in pursuit, right? And when they throw in a couple Dutch angles, and then he gets on Wolfie, and Wolfie's essentially just his horse, his mighty steed. Action filmmaking was fantastic. And I'm just like everywhere he's going. You saw all the complicated places they're taking him through.
mhm.
They go into the church. Did you recognize the church? St. Paul's Church?
I did recognize it, but I forgot what movie it's from. Like
So Paddington 2 uses it. And
mhm,
then, whatever, Hugh Grant comes in there, he changes into a nun, and then he escapes
mhm,
essentially from Paddington. Or, no, I'm mixing two scenes together. But whatever, the scene I'm talking about, that happens. And then Mission Impossible Fallout, Tom Cruise, he goes up there in the same place where Hugh Grant is up there. Tom Cruise runs through. I'll make a clip of this. And he literally
mhm,
runs the whole thing. And even
mhm,
downstairs, he's getting chased by like five guys, and it's
mhm.
it's just a crazy time in a church. And I'm just like, oh, I didn't realize they have the same shooting locations too, and
See,
it's awesome.
this is just a sign that Paul King needs to direct a Mission Impossible movie starring
I
Paddington.
mean, Paddington 4.
Paddington's Paddington's jumping, doing a halo jump with Tom Cruise.
No, Paddington, he shows up and he's sitting in the house at the Brown family estate. Let's say it's an
Mhm,
estate, it's just the house, but
yeah.
estate. He's just chilling. A package comes in the mail, and it's just a tub of marmalade. He opens the marmalade and just takes out like a little camera, and it then starts playing this mission. And then
This
the
mission will
marmalade
self-destruct.
self destructs, and he's like, "I guess I accept the mission." He's like, "What's payment? 10 jars of marmalade." I'm like, "Okay, let's go."
Let's go.
And obviously, Paddington saves the world, and then Tom
Mhm.
Cruise shows up at the end of the movie. He's like, "Good job, Tom Cruise. If you want to save cinema, it's a good idea."
Yeah, know what? Take our notes. Take our notes, Tom Cruise.
Honestly, hey, I'll work with Tom Cruise one day. Don't worry about it. I ain't worried about it.
Yeah.
That being said, on to production value. Most impressive pieces of this movie, the production value within all the great artists, whether it's a shot, scene, moment, aspect of this movie, where it feels like no moment, where the moment feels like nothing is left off screen. It's everything is on screen, no sideline stuff. What is
Mhm.
your favorite production value for Paddington 2?
Well, I've kind of already touched on this, how Wes Anderson-esque this film can get. I feel like Paul King wanted to reference Wes Anderson like multiple times throughout this film. I loved like pretty much all the production value when they're in the prison, like whether it was like the Brown family going to talk to Paddington, like meeting with him, and like all the people that he made friends with are behind him, and
Oh, that scene is fantastic.
that the scene where the scene where Henry Brown basically he turns off the lights and thinks that he's muting the microphone, and they're all still listening and stuff like that. I love that, the way like the lights go off and they're like, oh, okay, no one's talking anymore, and then they turn it back on, like, oh, we heard everything. I love like kind of like the duality of like the scenes where it's almost a little bit like there's a split diopter somewhere in there. Like I think there's split
Where in
diopters.
I
What
don't
was
know.
that?
I didn't catch any split eye diopters.
It
I feel
it's
like
close.
I would have caught some split diopters.
Well, there's a close split diopter, but it's not one. But I wish that they would have went with one, because it would have been fantastic to see a split diopter in a Paddington movie. But I just love just kind of like the production value of like the whole prison, whether like the stuff that you mentioned about Paddington turning like all their uniforms pink, where it's kind of like it flips like the whole thing of like what we think prisons are like. Oh, prisons are tough, but now they're wearing pink. So I
And
kind of like
it
the
is Paddington effect to slowly change it into something else
mhm.
that's different, right?
Yeah, for sure. The more Paddington spends in this prison, the more kind of like fun and also kind like these prisoners get, and you see that through like the color in this film. And I don't know, I like, especially like when he first starts, it's very dark and gray and very depressing, and then by the time he leaves, everyone's smiling. You see a lot more color. I think those films are those scenes are really well directed. I love the production value there for sure.
And the whole movie, like the production value of the movie itself, is
Mhm.
fantastic. I don't think the movie got its credit for the filmmaking itself because, like I told you, it's very modern, but it's also very classic in many senses. You're talking about the scene with, like, oh, this is Knuckles, this is my other buddy, this is my other buddy. And it's like,
Mhm.
it's very classic, you know, comedy to me. And
Mhm.
I think the first one I have to talk about is the pop up book and the integration of the pop up book, where it's like he goes into the pop up book and you see Aunt Lucy getting off the ship and it's the camera's like going around and it's an integration of, obviously two CG characters, but it's like going through London and this is a very beautiful scene. And they take the time to make that. And this movie has a lot of oneers where it's like oneers, time lapses, where they're going around a room and things are changing. You see the Paddington effect, and it's so seamlessly done. It doesn't feel like you're watching a oneer. But
Mhm.
like now, obviously rewatching it, I'm like, oh, y'all did one 360 around the kitchen with Knuckles, and then y'all came in to where they're finally done making the marmalade, and there's another 360 going around, and it's so
Mhm.
seamlessly done. And there's so much CGI involved that we don't even know like the amount of work that they put into it. But it's like it's so simple, it's so effective that you don't even see it. And that's great filmmaking. And you're talking about Gary Williamson. He's the production designer. And every single set that they shot in, every single location they shot in, everything is fantastic. And I think it's
Mhm.
like the Paddington effect, even that this is, something known in England. Because like I told you, St. Paul's Cathedral they shot there. Paddington Station looks fantastic. The courthouse was beautiful. Like I told you, even the jail sets, the homes, everything looks fantastic, and
Mhm.
it's effectively done. And it's a $40 million movie. This looks better than obviously a lot of $250 million movies. And I'm not gonna, I could just name off Electric State and 10 million other movies that don't have that effect on us.
We'll
But it's
get
like
to Electric State later, but
never. We'll never get to it.
I feel like that film needs to be
Electric
studied
State
in
coming
on
on the
other
pod.
ways. Yeah. Real Livers Pod. Check it out.
I
Just
think
kidding.
I think that's the thing. I don't. I don't want to, we don't dunk on movies just for the sense of dunking on them. It's like, it's the issue of like, what is your goal here? And it feels like there's no goal there. That's why
Mhm,
it's like, it's just that's frustrating. This is easy. This is elegant. That's what Paddington is. And then everything else, like people are like, yo, make more Paddington vibe stuff because it's
mhm,
so wholesome, it's so effective, and it's like just because it's plain, quote unquote plain, doesn't mean that it's not good. And I
yeah,
feel like whether it's Remember the Titans, School of Rock, all these movies, they come into the same theme for me. That's why we talk about them because I'm like, this is greatness that is being disguised as simple. And I don't know if you remember the trailer for Paddington. It did not look, the first one was not cool. It just looks like the run of the mill something. Then you watch the movie and then you're like, oh, this is special. This is fantastic.
I don't remember seeing the trailer for the first Paddington all that much, but I can see how people, like, if they were to see it, it's like, "Oh, is this the movie about a bear?" I remember those books growing up, and then you watch it, and there's so much more to it. So,
I never There was the Berenstain Bears. That's about it. That's the most. And then obviously you said Bear Necessities. That Jungle
yeah.
Book. That's about the most I had with bears growing up. What about Brother Bear? Brother Bears.
Oh,
The thing from
Brother
Disney
Bear?
Channel.
Yeah.
Brother
I
Bear.
I I watched I watched Brother Bear growing up. There the shoot, what's that other there's another bear, like, show that was on PBS. What was it? Was it Brother Bear
No, no, that
or
was
am
Disney Channel. This is a
I
Disney Channel original movie.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm just thinking of Arthur. Was there bears in Arthur? I don't think so.
maybe like an anthropomorphic one with a fist.
Yeah, yeah. Not an aardvark, not an aardvark, but but I'm sure there was. Let us know in the comments down below.
Yeah,
That's your
remind
call
me.
to action. Are there any bears that show up on PBS or in Arthur?
And we're not talking about We Bear Bears. That was a good show. We Bear Bears. That came out a bit after my era of like Cartoon Network, but very simple, very funny show about three bears. Dialogues. What piece of dialogue affected you the most in this movie? Or the one that you loved the most? Paddington 2 has some great comedy, great dialogue. Hit me with some dialogues.
So I always struggle with this segment on your podcast because it's really hard for me to pick out like dialogues from a movie. Like I really
Yeah.
like the lines like when they come at me, but I think what Paddington does so well like across like all the dialogues is how it blends like the comedy and like the dramatic moments like so well. Like whether it's Paddington kind of like bearing his soul like in his cell talking to the his prisoners through like the pipes and they're telling him like, oh, the Browns are gonna forget you, you need to like move on with your life, and like and Paddington's saying like, oh, they will never forget me, and then all the stuff that's happening where it's like, oh wow, they actually did forget me. It can go from something as dramatic as that, but also to do something so like it's does slapstick comedy like so well. Like the scene with him getting like the barber like job, and like all that
Bro,
slapstick
wait,
comedy.
hold on, real quick. You know who the barber is?
Oh
Did you recognize the barber?
no, I did. He looked
He's
familiar.
Einstein from Oppenheimer.
No
He's
way.
in The Dark Knight Rises also. That's him.
That's crazy. That's crazy. This is he's really great in this. He's the barber. He's the guy getting the haircut, but also the judge that sent Paddington
Yeah.
away. And but I just love how like this movie, and maybe it obviously it's a British thing, how it kind of like it can do something so serious, but knows when to kind of like let off the gas on like all the dramatic stuff and go like, no, I'm gonna do something funny here. Like even like the scene I already talked about, like when Paddington's really, it's really hard for him to pick up social cues when he's talking to Phoenix and like recognize like, oh, you're a famous actor, not anymore. That's one of my favorite lines, is because it like the reaction, as much as I don't really care for Hugh Grant, I think his performance, like there,
What do
I
you mean
think
you don't care for Hugh
I,
Grant?
I think Hugh Grant is a great actor. I just think that some of the things that he says about certain people now, he seems
Okay.
Yeah, I don't want to get into it because that's very politics heavy,
I gotcha, I gotcha.
but
No,
I think
the recent run of, like, him playing the villain has been fantastic. That's all, like, I'm a fan
I,
of the
I
villain
haven't
stuff for a
I haven't
reason.
seen Heretic yet. I haven't seen Heretic yet, but I hear he's really
Don't
good.
worry about Heretic, I'm talking about, like, Dungeons& and Dragons and this.
Oh, I forgot he's in that movie. To be
He's so
honest, he's good.
anybody, go rewatch Dungeons& and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves, that is still awesome.
It's on Netflix, so everyone's go check that one out. But I just
Knock it
love
out.
just kind of I just love like how something can go from like 10 all the way down to like 1 and stuff like that, where it's kind of like you're on a roller coaster ride, or even like the scene with Brendan Gleeson, like Knuckles, and Paddington basically says like, "Oh, I'm gonna mean mug you back. Like this is Aunt Lucy told me like if they're being mean, I'm gonna give you a hard stare, not a mean mug. It's called a hard stare." And I just kind of love that they kind of like have like this what's I'm trying to it's like a fistful of dollars like moment where it's kind of like
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
yeah
But
uh
that's the thing, the movie what you're talking about is the tone of the movie, that
mhm,
people Mickey 17 just came out, right? And people are
yeah
like, "Oh, I didn't like the tone of this movie." And it's like there's sometimes like people take really harsh turns with tone. Works for some people, sometimes it doesn't work for people. And this is a harsh turn in tone also, where it's like it's a bit tongue in cheek, it's very like clean comedy, but there's
hmm
also some like, like, whoa, this kind of intense for this sort of movie sort of
hmm
moments. And it's like like you said, the highs and lows of like it going from a 10 to a 1 right away.
hmm
That is the Paddington tone. It is a
hmm
tone that they crafted in the first one, perfected in this movie.
hmm yeah
I think, let's see. I'm going to, like I told you, I'm just going to drop a bunch of lines. Okay, let's see. Because it's like, okay, the way he talks about his aunt is something where it's like, I think we all kind of do that subconsciously, where it's like someone taught me to do this, so that's
hmm
kind of the way I am. We don't say like, oh, my aunt taught me to do this. We just kind of do it. That's just how we work. So it's like it's a kids movie where it's like, you know, it's a mechanic of like teaching lessons to the kids without it being like a, I don't know, kind of in your face sort of thing. It works for the
hmm
character. It's very much like kids book, and they make that come to life geniusly. What you're talking about with the dog thing with you, not the dog thing, the like when he meets Buchanan, where he's like, a man has to eat, and
hmm
Paddington's like, dog food. I'm like, what do you mean? You remember the ad for the dog food? I was like, wait, did
oh
they just take the costume from like Spaceballs?
it's I love that
It was
I love that you brought that
it
up.
was so Spaceballs.
I wonder if Mel Brooks actually directed that commercial. If Paul King calling up a favor like, "Hey, I
Ghost
got a
direct
project for you."
project. I could do this. He's old. He's old.
Yeah.
Well, now one of my favorite lines. Another one. 10 years of grand theft and grievous barbarly harm. I'm like, bro, who wrote this line? Grievous barbarly harm. How many years for that?
Yeah.
It
I
was. It's,
well, you mentioned Aunt Lucy and how we kind of like we all kind of like talk about like this type of person like in our own lives. I think the line that really we're talking about a lines that we thought were really funny because Paddington is a comedy movie, but the scene like I'm a big softie when it comes to movies. I like to cry a lot or I don't like to cry a lot, whatever. I know I don't know how to word that. But the scene that like ripped my heart out like towards the end of this movie is Paddington basically like gets rescued by the Brown family and he's out for 3 days and he realizes that like it's past to Aunt Lucy's birthday and he feels like he disappointed her because he didn't get her that book. And is it shoot is it a character's name Mrs. Bird basically
yeah.
says like, "What are you talking about? The what are you talking about? You didn't disappoint her." Like that like it, and I feel like with that I feel like I butchered like that line, but what that line like represents is that we hold birthdays and certain holidays in so much high regard because we don't want to disappoint people because the people like that raised us, or the people that mean a lot to us. We don't want to disappoint them. So like when something special of theirs comes up, we want them to have like a really great day. But when it all comes down to it, we're existing. Like that's what the people that love us like the most, they like that we're here. And Paddington is there for Aunt Lucy. And I think that line is just so beautiful, just because Paddington is trying his hardest throughout this whole movie to like get this book for Aunt Lucy, but in reality, it's like she's glad that Aunt Lucy's really just glad that he's he's here. He's here in London and doing stuff that she always wanted to do. And then you find out that she's also she's also there in London with seeing Paddington for like the first time in like however many years. But I love that. I love that line so much. But yeah.
But I think what you're talking about, like the serious tone of it, like the, I don't know, the life of it is that
Hmm.
a birthday is one day, a
Hmm.
holiday is one day. If you really think of these people and value them, then you live the way they expect you to live. And that's what she was talking about. It's
Hmm.
like my common example, real life example is Father's Day, right?
Hmm.
Just because you go give your dad a cup, it says, number one father in the world, best dad, number one dad. And then, you go and do something he doesn't like.
Hmm.
You're not there, let's say, or the example my own dad gives is like, hey, can you, like, my back's hurting. Can you cut the grass? And then your son's like, oh, no, I don't have time for that. Like, go get someone else to do it. I was like, hold up. Then what the two actions are not correlative of each other, right?
Hmm.
One's performative and one's not a translation of your love, right? So it's like, and you can apply that to Mother's Day, Grandfather's Day, throw in every other holiday in there. Holidays are pointless. They're just a reminder that you should be doing these things, right? And it's like for the people, let's say, after my dad passes away, how do you keep that memory alive? You throw it to Coco, right? That, how do you remember me, right? That's the
Hmm.
whole point of that song, is like, how do you remember a person? It's about the way that you live. And what Paddington's doing in this movie is the way that his aunt and uncle taught him to live. He's living that way. He's a living, breathing vision of their ideas, their perspectives on this world in a positive light. And that's how we should all be living, in a positive light. We should learn, not the bad stuff, the good stuff. We should learn those things and exist within the world those ways, right? So, no, I 100%, I understand what you're saying. And that's why I have these lines written down. Aunt Lucy
Hmm.
said, if you are looking for good in people, you will find it. Bars. That's the
Hmm.
take home. Aunt Lucy said, if we're kind and polite, the world will be right. And it's like I told you, people can dismiss this all they want. This is me. I believe in this. 1,000,000,000,000,000,000%. And I also believe in the mean mug you're talking about, right? It's called a
Hard
hard
stare.
stare.
Hard stare.
Aunt Lucy said to do it to people when they've forgotten their manners. And it's like, that's a translation of love, right? That when they forget that you're a human being, you forget that you need to be polite, you need to be kind, you need to remind them that you need to do that too. And the example is that if you want to hammer in a nail, you need to hold the nail and you also need to hit the nail at the same time. It's like these things aren't done alone. You need two hands, you need two people, you need to be doing this together. It's not you don't do this alone in this world.
Now,
And
now I,
off the
uh,
off the the very serious stuff. Wait, go ahead.
no, I have to ask you. Well, it's coming off a little bit of the serious stuff, but I have to ask you one question. Like growing up,
Go ahead.
we've mentioned the hard stare multiple times throughout this recording. Have your parents ever given you the hard stare? Like when did you realize when you were younger that you got the hard stare?
A lot when I was
A
being
lot.
wrong. You can't
Like,
tell. See, put it this way. I think I'm pretty close to how I was as a kid, except
mhm,
I'm less hyper, but I'm still talkative and I'm still curious and I'm still, this world has never gotten to me and
mhm,
I still act that way. So it's like I'm a temperamental human being in the right ways. And
mhm.
that's why I know that I get the heart stare a lot, even to this day, but I'm like, there's no other way to live. It's like learn your limits. That I learned my limits, but even then, yeah, I get some hard stares sometimes.
Yeah, I got some hard stares a lot, and like I never got grounded as a kid. Like I had like a lot of my friends get grounded, but my mom never believed in that. But I definitely got the hard stare. Like if I misbehaved, like at the grocery store, I would just get like a oh. You're
Oh,
not gonna like what
nothing
I
like that.
yeah. It's not.
In
I
that
knew she
sense,
wasn't
like
gonna
I
do anything, but it's like the
yeah,
thought in the back of my head, just like, oh, I need to shape up. Like it's like that
I
switch
wasn't
where it's
like
like,
I wasn't some like rambunctious kid in that sense of like, I'm in
"Oh, I
public
was."
causing a scene or something. I mean, like I told you, I was just like, I don't know. I've always been in my head. There's a
Mhm.
very like cultured inner life of whatever goes on in my head, and I'm just like in my world, and I'm just vibing. I'm just here. I'm like, I'm just here. I'm good.
Right. Mhm.
Okay, I'll end it on a couple wholesome, funny ones. There's a full on like Godfather reference. Whenever Knuckles and Paddington have their first confrontation, the guard is like, "Oh, forget the medic, send the priest because he's about to die." And I was just like, "Oh, is this forget the gun, take the cannoli? This is Godfather right here."
Straight up Godfather.
And then the other Knuckles line is, "I have a strange warm tingle in my tum tum." And Paddington's like, "I think that's pride." And then Knuckles is like, I don't like it." And Brendan Gleeson, all these actors, they're acting to nothing. And it's like, okay, talk about actors. My last line is about actors.
Mhm.
Actors are some of the most evil and devious people on this planet. They lie for a living. Crikey, we're gonna need a foolproof plan to catch one. And I could not stop laughing. I was like,
That that's a great line. I love that because one, it's meta. It's very meta because it's the movie kind of calling itself out, but it's also just kind of like brings you back to the story where it's like this guy's an actor and we gotta like he's the antagonist of this entire movie where it's you gotta catch the Hugh Grant character Phoenix, but I love that line. I was cracking up at that one for sure.
no, I remembered Juicy Smollett.
Oh,
I
man,
was
I had no idea that his name was gonna appear in a podcast.
okay, no hate, no shade, but it was hilarious. I was just like, okay, this is hilarious.
Right. Mhm,
But that being said, we can get on to the Layla
mhm,
best needle drop. There's 5 needle drops in this movie, surprisingly. A
mhm.
lot of, I guess, songs that are covered in this movie, but fantastic work. What is your favorite Layla for this movie?
I think like there's songs throughout this movie, but I think that the composer Dario Marinelli, I think hopefully I said that
Yeah,
right. I think he does because he's done all three of these films: Paddington Peru, Paddington 2, and then the first Paddington as well. I think what he does
yeah.
so well, and this is why I love like when composers come back to like a franchise, you really know that it's like a Paddington movie because it like the stuff, the music, the songs that he picks, the way that like this movie is composed, you really get this feeling. It's very much like a warm feeling, and I feel like the song for me that like works so well like with Paddington like when it appears is the when he's scrubbing the windows. What's that song?
Oh,
I don't I don't
here.
have it in my
Hold on.
notes. Sorry.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold
I
on.
just
Hold on. I got it in mind. Robin Scrub. It's actually Dario. He wrote it. So that's an original song that they wrote for the movie.
yeah, I love that song so much just because it screams Paddington like so much like for the comedic side of it, but also there's a lot of heart in it as well. And I feel like that's it just it's Paddington in a nutshell for sure. But yeah, that's my Layla. Rub and scrub.
And the other, they threw in Stephen Sondheim for the end credits with Hugh Grant.
Mhm.
Like I told you, it's from it's a song from from Follies, which I've never seen,
Mhm.
but they straight up brought back a full on whatever musical number for the end credits. That's a
Mhm.
Broadway number, and it is fantastic. I loved it. That's not my Layla though. My Layla. is Love Thy Neighbor, which is playing through the scene of everything changing in the prison, where
Hmm.
it's like, I think the line in the song is, life would be easier if you loved your neighbor. And I'm like, okay, there we go, message of the movie. And it's
Right.
just beautiful to see all the filmmaking happening, like everything, like taking out all the long benches in the cafeteria. Now we got round tables, and
Hmm.
very interesting idea. But it's like they're beautifying the entire prison. There's plants here, there's life here. It's like prison is, instead of saying like home sweet home, it says prison sweet prison. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, what a crazy way to like change everything, right? And it's
Hmm.
like there's art everywhere. People are playing instruments. They're reading a bedtime story, and it's like, what a wholesome scene.
Hmm.
And yeah, I love this song. It's an awesome one. And it's like there's nothing more. It's like so succinct. Like I told you, this movie is effortlessly good. It is
Hmm.
hard to be effortlessly good, and they do it in this movie.
Yeah.
Thanks. Or go ahead.
No, I totally agree. I like that one. Like the song title, like it hits the nail on the head, like to the
It's a bit
audience. Love Thy
biblical, isn't it?
Neighbor. It well, I don't want to get into that, but it basically tells the audience like love thy neighbor. Like when you walk out of this movie, this is what you should do. Like we mentioned at the beginning, it's like when you pass someone like walking on the sidewalk, smile at them, show them kindness. Not being nice, because like I said, not being nice is a one-way street. Kind heals people. Being
Yeah,
nice, like I said, is a one-way street. Being kind to people heals the people around you, and that's what Paddington is. So, and I think that that song, like I said, like it sums up Paddington 2 in a nutshell. While Rub and Scrub is like kind of like the entire like Paddington franchise, like the like what Paddington like represents. This is
yeah,
what Love Thy Neighbor is what Paddington 2 is all about. But
yeah, 100%.
yeah. Mhm.
And I got to get to it. We
Mhm.
talked about this already. You know who should have been in this movie? Come on, let's recast a role for Paddington 2. Who would you put in Paddington 2? Because
Okay.
it already has a stacked cast. And I'm gonna drop it real quick. Okay. Or you know, we'll talk about it after yours. Drop me your cast for Paddington 2. Or
Okay.
anybody. I don't know who you came with.
I just want the listeners to know and you to know as well, Vakash. I'll let you know before we started recording that this my recast. I think my recasting so far on the episodes I've done have been pretty chaotic. This is definitely probably the most chaotic recasting I had.
Kevin Spacey.
Um,
No, I'm joking.
no, it's not that chaotic. I went kind of because I saw the producer of this film, David Heyman. He's probably one of my favorite producers, like making some of
Currently
my
doing Bond.
yeah. He is what?
Yeah. That's
Okay, now I'm.
Alfonso Cuarón pretty much confirmed that he's gonna be doing the next Bond
Oh my god, that's
because
insane.
he also produced Gravity. David
Oh,
Heyman, Heyday Films. Yeah, big
yeah,
fan.
but yeah, Heyday Films, David Heyman producing all three Paddington films, now Bond. So I went with a very David Heyman like cast in a way.
I
I
did
went
too,
I
honestly.
w- with Henry Brown. I went Daniel Radcliffe because he's much older now. I think
Okay,
I
okay.
think it's because I love Harry Potter. I think Daniel
Keep it going.
Radcliffe it'd be very interesting to see him kind of do like a comedy role. He's done comedy before, like with what's that one Channing Tatum Sandra Bullock movie?
That
Uh,
Daniel Radcliffe is in.
yeah, Daniel Radcliffe as a villain in
Oh, you're talking about the
Lost City.
Lost City. That movie
Yeah,
was not good. You know
I
me. I
liked
love
it.
it. I love
I
adventure movies. It was, but that's the thing. Adventure movies are not meant to be fine. They're supposed to be fun. And that movie felt like it was sucking the fun out of it. Daniel Radcliffe, on the other hand, was fantastic in that movie.
He's great. He's great,
He's
and
also got the show. I keep forgetting. I always mention the show Miracle Workers on TBS. He's
mhm,
fantastic, hilarious, and he'd be, yeah.
yeah,
Of course, he'd be great as the dad. Keep going.
yeah. Emma Watson for Mary Brown. Kind of like I wanted kind of like a sequel to Harry Potter.
Wait,
Uh,
hold up. Who?
Hermione and Harry Potter getting together, and now they're in Paddington 2. They're raising
What
a
is
bear
this?
together.
What is this fan fiction? Get out of here.
Uh, I I really struggled with like the kids a little bit because I don't
Yeah.
really know a lot of like British like young
You're
British
you're
actors.
you're towing a line here. Yeah, keep going.
I go Judy Brown, Nico Parker.
Okay,
She's playing
his
Astrid.
daughter,
She's yeah, Tandy Newton's daughter. She's playing
Astrid in
Astrid,
How to Train Your
and
Dragon.
yeah,
She's
and
also in the first episode of The Last of Us. She's
yes, that's right.
Pedro Pascal's daughter in the show. She's fantastic.
She's really great. I would like to see her kind of do more of like a comedy role. And then Jonathan Brown, I struggled with this one as well. Joe Locke would be
From
from Heartstopper and
okay,
Agatha
gotcha.
All Along. Great actor. I think they would do a really great job. And I'm not sure if could I pick actors that are no longer with us that I wish that they were in this
Go
movie.
ahead, run it.
Maggie Smith from Miss Bird.
Yeah, she would have been amazing.
She would have been amazing. And I'm kind of cheating here too because she's also, well, spoilers for Paddington in Peru. I know you haven't seen it. It's not
Go
really a
ahead.
spoiler.
I'll forget.
Olivia Colman as Aunt Lucy. Is it the voice? Because I love Olivia
Is
Colman.
she? You know who voices her
She's in the
this?
trailer. She's in the trailer.
You know who voices her in this, right?
It's
It's Imelda
Julie-
Staunton.
oh yeah,
It is
Imelda
literally Dolores Umbridge, one of
Yeah.
the worst
People.
villainous characters of all time.
Yeah.
And she's married to Michael Gambon, aka
Yeah.
Dumbledore. And I'm
Yeah.
like, y'all, dirty is hell for that.
I love it. I love it. But I think Olivia Colman would be great. It's like she's great in everything. And then Paddington, I recast to Benedict Cumberbatch.
His voice is too deep.
I think it's too deep, but I would love to see him try to do something more lighthearted.
He needs it. Everything he does is so serious.
Yeah, so serious.
He had that show. Even that show is serious. You know the Netflix show.
Sherlock.
No. It's a newer one. I forgot the name for it.
I forgot the name of it, but I think I know which one you're talking about.
It's like a one letter. It's like a 4-letter name. It's like Fred.
Yeah. Phoenix Buchanan.
Yeah.
This is a little bit of a wild card, but it goes off of a movie that I've seen recently, and I liked him playing the antagonist in. Well, hopefully, I'm not spoiling this new movie, but Regime Pay. I would love to see Regime Pay kind of do more of like slapstick.
Oh, okay, I got you.
He played Regime Pay is in the Black Bag movie.
He's also in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
Honor Amongst Thieves.
Yeah,
in a hilarious role. He is hilarious in the movie.
He's hilarious in that as well. And then Knuckles. Knuckles. I don't know what I was thinking here, but I kind of like I went with Pierce Brosnan just because I want to see Pierce Brosnan play kind of like a hardened kind of like a hardened like character, but also that gets turned. We're used to seeing Pierce Brosnan playing characters that we kind of like and we're drawn to. So it'd be nice to kind of like have like him play like a character that you're like, oh, this I don't know about him, and then the movie kind of like opens the door again, brings us back to who we're used to with him. But hopefully that's not as chaotic.
Yeah,
for me, those are the characters that I would recast or actors that I would pick for this main cast. So.
Nah, that's awesome. I love Pierce Brosnan, and it's like he's played the villain a few times recently. He played did you watch the movie that he and Jackie Chan had together? Like 2017. He kills, directed by Martin Campbell, who made Casino Royale. Not as good as that, but it's actually one of his better movies from recent memory because Pierce Brosnan kills his daughter. So Jackie Chan is trying to find revenge on Pierce Brosnan. So I would love to see him as a villain again. Okay. So my recasting for Paddington 2. Okay. I'll go off the top. Paddington. So this is like a 90s. Okay. So these people are a bit younger, even though these are people we know. Yeah. Paddington. I was thinking Ewan McGregor.
Oh, I think
he's got a lower timbre in his voice too.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like
Nick
that.
Frost, I thought of also, but I went with Ewan McGregor.
I think Ewan McGregor could also play Henry. Like I could probably put him in Henry's position because I think one he's a dad, daddy, but sorry,
no comment.
No comment. But I don't know. I think
you're my brother, Anakin.
I would love to see him as Paddington. I think that's a great choice.
Father Harry. Colin Firth.
Okay.
Manners maketh man.
This is fire. This is fire
Okay.
so far. I like this.
So the mom, I'm not sure if you know her. You know her. Emma Thompson. She plays Professor
Yes.
Trelawney. I love that woman. She's also that same age. So that's mom and dad. Daughter, Emma Watson. You already went in.
Yeah.
I'm also pillaging the Harry Potter train, but like
I love that.
she,
I love that
no,
we
but
both kind of.
the older daughter, she has the journalistic vibe and everything is, my vibe. And I'm like, me and Emma Watson get along in that level of like, we're kind of like, type A about certain things, and she would be awesome in that role. And she also is kind of cool, which people don't give her enough credit for being cool. Like, I still remember in Prison Rex Azkaban when she punches Malfoy in the face, I'm just like, let's go.
Yep.
Punch them. Look, you get what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying.
The son, the brother, he wasn't famous then. Nicholas Hoult.
I thought about him.
Never bad in a movie. He's good.
Yeah, he's great. Also going to be in Superman. Nicholas Hoult.
Can't wait.
Can't wait.
And little T, he's going to work with Tom Cruise and McHugh. They're going to work together at some point. Just because he didn't work on Mission doesn't mean he's not going to come back. So look forward to that.
Yeah.
But back to Paddington. Knuckles. Have you seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Not in a while.
The guy that's in that, he's a classic British actor. His name's Bob Hoskins. He's got that same like very scary demeanor. But he's got a heart to him also. So he would have been perfect to play Knuckles. He was, he's still alive then. He's, a bit older, but he would have been so intimidating. And then it would have matched the vibe of like going to a 10 to a 1. And, that Paddington tone would have been met with Bob Hoskins. And I left the best for last. Buchanan. R.I.P. Alan Rickman.
Yes. I knew you're good. I knew you're gonna pick.
Just imagine Alan Rickman, talking to himself and doing all this stuff. He's got the energy. He could have done it. It might be too silly for him as a person, but like, come on, he would have done it.
I think he would have done it. Here's a little honorable mention that I was thinking about for Buchanan. Rowan Atkinson. What'd you think about?
Yes. The only thing is, he's always like everybody knows him as Mr. Bean, so it's like he would have to. He'd be playing almost against the type to play the villain, but he definitely has the vibe. Like, have you seen Johnny English?
Yeah, I used to watch those religiously growing up. Like,
they used to be on TV a lot. I've seen Johnny English 1 and 2, maybe like 10 times each. Like a lot.
Those were my Pink Panther. Those movies were like my Pink Panther movies. So, but I think it would. A reason why I was kind of thinking about Rowan Atkinson is because he kind of fits the archetype of what Phoenix Buchanan was.
Hugh Grant is, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's a character that a lot of people know, but only know him for like a certain group of like films, and he's kind of like he's trying to break like that, break that mold. So it would be interesting to kind of see him in that role for sure. But
and what's funny is like I don't know if you ever watched Top Gear, but like he's a very big car guy, and you're like, oh, like Rowan Atkinson in real life is actually more like James Bond.
Well, if he's a big car guy, that means he should be in the next Fast and Furious movie. So
honestly, like no, but like legitimately, I was like, he has a 1-of-1 car or something from like I don't know. I was randomly watching something. I was like, whoa! I'm like Rowan Atkinson. I didn't know your game, man.
Right.
But Johnny English, big shout out, Mr. Bean.
Right. Exactly. But
do you have a hot take or a soapbox? I didn't write anything. I didn't feel the need to.
I don't necessarily have. It's not really a hot take. It's more of like a petition for people to see this movie. I know this entire podcast is really us saying
the petition to see it
is really telling us people to watch this movie.
Yeah,
it's more of like it's like it's what we said at the beginning of this podcast. Like kids can watch smart movies too. And it doesn't mean that we always have to have like movies like Minecraft. Like movies like Minecraft like are important just because kids need like those dumb.
We need fun movies. But this is also a fun movie too. So yeah. I mean, it's like different lines.
Yeah, for sure. So not necessarily a hot take, just telling people like watch this movie. It's don't judge a movie by its trailer. Just check it out. So
don't do what Star Trek Beyond did. First trailer, terrible. Second trailer, great. And
Yeah,
then the movie was good. AK Justin Lin also 6 degrees.
right. 6 degrees. 6 degrees of Lynn.
My take is just the same. Watch this movie. Remember that the key to this world is kindness. And let's talk about something that's not kind. The Oscars. We've done the Oscars already on the pod for this year. We already talked, me and Zach have talked about 2017 in general. Like we redid the Oscars for that year. I don't know if we did it on the pod, but we've done it like for ourselves in our little
Mhm.
echo chamber of just me and him talking for like 5 hours.
Yeah.
But this movie, it didn't really do too much at the Oscars. What do you think about the Oscars for 2018, like the 90th Oscars, but it's 2017 movies? This is like
Yeah.
Shape of Water, Phantom Thread, Lady Bird. Great year of movies.
It didn't really do much at the Oscars, but it's one of those movies also that it doesn't need the Oscars to do well. Like it's already kind of like the Oscars doesn't necessarily they don't really promote films what Paddington is kind of like pushing out
Yeah.
kindness. Like the Oscars like to promote movies that talk about like the industry. Paddington isn't necessarily talking about the industry, it's more of talk about humanity in a way.
And
And
I mean, they have humane movies, but the humane movies that they talk about are always dramas and they're always about terrible things that have happened before. And they're not substantive to like, there's no application outside for the most part. Maybe
mhm,
like 2015 Spotlight, you're telling, you're uncovering information that's like crucial,
mhm.
but there's no lessons to be learned with that besides like, never mind. I don't even want to talk about it
Well,
because
it
I want to say something that's going to alienate people.
then then I'll cover this. It's like I said, the Paddington doesn't need the Oscars. It's
They need
like
Paddington.
yeah,
He
yeah,
doesn't need them, but
exactly.
they need him.
Yeah, just like the world needs Paddington at this point. Kindness, spread kindness throughout the world, and yeah.
And it's like I'm not going for like what I saying for like should be nominated. They should have had visual effects. I think very heavy year of like visual effects movies. Blade Runner, Blade Runner 2049, War for the Planet of the Apes. Obviously, some crazy work done, but I really love the visual effects in this movie.
Mhm,
Crazy, insane, and visual effects because it's like Paddington's real to me. Obviously, they're working with a lower budget, but they do a great job with bringing Paddington to life, bringing all the extended sets to life, things that you don't even notice. Like some of these walls where things are changing, the walls aren't even there and they're bringing
mhm,
it to life. And I'm like, is it impressive work? Costuming. They don't give enough credit to costumes that are contemporary. So they should definitely had a nomination for this one because the costumes are fantastic in this movie. And it's like simple is effective, and it's like you can't just write it off as like, oh, this is contemporary, so it's not cool. It's like people, this takes a process. And like I told you, like you're saying Wes Anderson, this is
mhm.
this is Paul King to me, where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
the pink, this is representative of this, the tone of the story. We have these almost 80s 70s clothes, but it's a contemporary setting. That's a
Mhm,
choice. And it's like all these things are working together. And same thing with that is production design. The production design on this movie is insanely great. And I'm just like, it's breathtaking, right? And some of the lighting
mhm,
is fantastic. I'm like, whatever work they did on this movie, they've really tried to do something special as a filmmaking perspective that should have been respected. And, people, as the time goes on, jumping right into legacies. This movie, the legacy of this movie is to watch it, is the message
mhm,
of this movie that, we have this cute bear with a heart of gold that people are going to come back to because they need
mhm.
to come back to him. Do you have anything about
It
legacies of anybody before, in the cast or before in the cast, like in front of the camera, behind the camera, anything you want to point out?
well, no, to kind of jump a little bit back into the Oscars a little bit, like the
Oh,
cinematography of
go
this
ahead. Go ahead.
film, cinematography and like film editing, but for sure, some of my favorite like match cuts like happen in this movie. Like I love how this entire movie, or even like the first movie and this movie, how it's told like a storybook, and like you like 'cause, like you mentioned it before, how the camera kind of like goes into like the pop up book, and you kind of
Yeah.
like and you see like the pop ups, and even like throughout later in the movie, you see like the book kind of like turn, and it's like a brilliant like match cut or jump cut to like another scene. It's almost kind of like Paul King is like telling us, like he's telling us this, telling the story to the audience, and he's like turning the pages himself. So just shout out to the cinematography and the editing there. But going back to legacies, uh, I I think like
Oh wait,
Paddington,
hold on. You know who the just real quick, the editors for this, Edgar Wright's editors, and you can tell that it's his editors.
you can definitely
Yeah,
tell for sure. And
and
I didn't
Eric
even know
Wilson,
that, but
DP, shout out.
I didn't even know that. But so thanks for that shout out, Vakash. You always coming in clutch with the calling out those
with,
names.
with with these inanely like nerdy things. Yeah,
Yeah,
always here.
but going back to the legacies, I've mentioned this before. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but Paddington, like he's the legacy that when we go back and watch these movies, he will remind us to spread kindness.
Who's your
And
MVP?
my MVP, we didn't talk about her all that much, but I'm gonna say Sally Hawkins.
Oh, okay.
Sally Hawkins is the MVP of this movie, especially like with that scene where she dives into the water to save Paddington, as like he Paddington's train car goes out into the lake, and that moment that she has with Paddington as Paddington looks her in the eyes and says like, "Hey, I'm gonna die. Don't save me." And they have like that. When they lock eyes, like that moment where it's just like she loves Paddington so much, but she can read in his eyes like, save yourself, like you're more important than me. But then the movie kind of like, we can't go this dark. That's when that's when the Brendan Gleeson character comes out of nowhere. I don't know how he finds them. I don't know how he finds them, but he's just like, you know what?
So when
Patty,
they're in the plane,
yeah.
when they're talking about it, they cut to
Mhm.
a shot outside and they see the train going by.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, they know that Paddington's on that train, but
No,
they
they
made the
heard
right
it over
call.
the radio that he escaped, that they're on the
Oh
train.
yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, context clues that I
No
missed, but
continuity.
yeah, continuity. But yeah, I don't know. I love that scene with Sally Hawkins and Paddington, just like that
I,
moment they shared. So
I have a bad habit of like I don't talk about some of the people I love enough, and I love Sally Hawkins. She also
she's
had
great.
a Shape of Water this year. She's amazing, and she
Mhm.
doesn't get her credit. She really doesn't. She'll randomly show up and stuff, and people are. I don't mean this in a bad way, but like she's not classically attractive. You know,
Mhm.
like she's not sitting there with like 20 million plastic surgeries, and whatever, people can do whatever they want. I'm not putting a judgment past them, but like she looks like a regular person, and she's amazing, obviously beautiful. I'm not talking about all that, but like she is awesome, great actress. She's she holds the movie together when it needs to be held together,
Mhm.
and she's the human that does that. And it's like they're all talking to a fake ape, or not ape, a fake bear that's not even there. We've been talking about too many apes.
Yeah.
But because I love the apes too, obviously, right?
Wait,
Different thing, but it's like
not
same
to.
culture.
I know we're trying to wrap up, but we've done apes, we've done bears. If I come on again, we need to do something else. Like we
We
need to
gonna do aliens next time.
we need to do a dog movie. Airbud,
Is there
Airbud. I'm just kidding.
Isle of Dogs? We've been talking about Wes Anderson, right?
Yeah, you know what? I'm down.
And I have to tell
This is
Kat
backroom.
she might come on for that.
Yeah, this is backroom talk.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
But my MVP is Paddington, because you're talking about Paddington. Paddington's my MVP. He's the like
Mhm,
Paul King and everyone else. They do a great job with this movie. They put in
mhm,
so much love and effort into this movie, and it doesn't go underseen. I appreciate that. But it's like what Paddington as a character means really comes through. And like you said, just watch this movie, remind yourself of what this greatness is. And what's your other companion movies? I talked about, you've mentioned Sing Sing. That's my first companion movie for this. What else
mhm.
do you have?
My companion movie, like you mentioned, like I mentioned Sing Sing, but I went with more British movies, Wallace and Gromit. Like any of those movies, I think that
Classic.
like that those are classic kind of like buddy movies, and Paddington isn't necessarily a
Guess where I
buddy
saw
movie.
Wallace and Gromit first?
Where'd you see it? Right.
My public library had Wallace and Gromit on DVD. That's how I saw Wallace and Gromit growing up. Power of
I
cinema, power of public
I
education, public systems.
I think I actually watched like my first Wallace and Gromit short because on PBS. Like they just randomly were playing it like one day, and I was like, no, this is really cool, and that's when I fell in love with stop motion. But I will go Wallace and Gromit, just kind of like as a companion piece to Paddington, just because they both kind of like represent like kind of like the same thing, and also that British humor comes through as well. And yeah.
Besides the movies that we've like done on the pod, I talked about whatever School of Rock, Remember the Titans.
Mhm.
Three Idiots was the Indian movie, Hindi movie we did recently. That's very much the same line of like movies I really love. I'm gonna throw to Amelie, fantastic movie, French movie.
Mhm.
Like same vibe of like you say Wes Anderson, but it's like this great visual tone and this great like very almost wholesome tone of the movie itself. Hunt for the Wilder People, Taika Waititi, still my favorite movie from him. And
Mhm.
it's like the lines of that movie still make me laugh. Like the kid, he's reading off the thing and he's like, "Oh, it says you're Caucasian." He's like, You're not Asian." I'm stupid. I'm stupid.
Oh man, I
Have you
love
heard
it.
of Peanut Butter Falcon?
Yes, yes, that's
Wholesome
a good
movie,
shout out.
awesome.
Good
They
shout
they
out.
shot that one where I live. The Way
Yeah.
Back with Steve
Mhm.
Carell, my man Sam Rockwell,
Written by Jim
Jim
Rash
Rash, Nat,
of
yeah,
Community.
Nat Faxon, Jim Rash. Hold on, or apparently I've gone blind. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hold on.
You're
Screw it.
switchback.
We're gonna do it live. Okay.
Okay.
As long as you can hear me. Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody's watching this, I hope they get a good laugh out of this because it is hilarious. Okay.
This needs to be a short. You should just edit this into a short.
So yeah, no, those are my companion movies, and yeah, Hunt for the Wilder People, Peanut Butter Falcon, way back. There's a very it's like wholesome but mature movies that people
Mhm.
should check out, and
Yeah.
I think all I gotta say is, despite all odds, be kind. And as Paddington says in this movie, you got to remind ourselves, like, manners, Paddington. You got to remind yourself to do this, to be kind. You have to go out of your way, no matter how bad it is. It's easy to write it off. It's easy to just be
Mhm.
like, yeah, like the world's bad. Nothing I'm going to do is going to make a difference. No, everybody can make a difference. Every single day
Yeah.
we can make a difference. Every day that we have is a chance to make a difference. And I'm going full Tarantino today, apparently, but like I believe this with my heart. I believe in cinema. I believe in these things. And Paddington 2, what other great message do you need in this world, especially in the times we live in? That's why I wanted to do this one. And it's like
Yeah.
the other opposite for anybody listening. We also talked about doing Do the Right Thing, which we will get to together.
Mhm.
But it's like just as much as we need Do the Right Thing, we need a Paddington 2 also. So,
Yeah.
closing thoughts, plug. Any
Yeah.
closing
Closing
thoughts?
thoughts.
Talk about,
I
share everything for Real Lovers Pod for you, where people can find you as always.
Yeah. Closing thoughts for this movie. It's just like echo exactly what you said. Be kind to the people around you, be kind to the people that you love, and watch this movie because this movie will make you a better person, just like Paddington makes the people around him better. But
And
yeah,
it's like I said, it's your neighborhood.
yeah,
Choose your neighborhood. Go to work,
shoot,
get it done.
yeah,
Like
and
this is not like I said, nothing easy. Nothing in life comes easy. Like you have to
no,
go and put effort into it. So
and
this is an
I
effort we all need to put into this world. I understand you want to go protest. You want to go make sure your voice is heard. Go ahead and do that. The main part is how you live, though. Because if you're
mhm.
not living the right way, what's the point of the rest of it?
Yeah,
So,
and what I love most about your podcast, Vikash, is that you talk about the movies and how they affect like our society and how like movies kind of like can heal us and make us better. Paddington is like the perfect representation of that. Like you said,
100%.
we need this movie more than ever right now. So if you haven't seen this movie, go out and watch it. Love the
And
people
we're
that you love. Be kind. And yeah, and if people aren't annoyed with me by the end of this podcast, I always say that no matter what podcast I'm on, you can follow me pretty much everywhere. I guess on social media. with the username at Marley Loves Film. I'm not really on social media all that much anymore, but I'm also writing at thereallovers.com. I'll probably have a piece about Paddington like coming up there. When's this episode coming out? Like, is it this Friday or
Monday.
the Monday? When this episode comes out, I'll have a piece about Paddington for sure, just because I think people need to see this movie more than ever right now. But yeah, thereallovers.com. Check that website out for sure. And the podcast. Listen to the podcast. Vakash has been,
Yeah,
especially
we have
once
the Village
especially,
episode.
yeah. That's a great talk that we had. Like all the talks that we have about movies, but
In therapy, that's apparently that's the market right there.
yeah.
Besides like these movies being researched as to like, inspiration for me, I mean, the other half of it is like, oh yeah, like movies should transcend borders, right? This is an English movie, and I've got
Mhm.
plenty of qualms if I wanted to as an Indian, but the message here is transcended. So
Mhm.
big love.
Yeah. Big love for movies and Paddington. So
And you know what I always say at the end of every single pod? I say peace and love. We'll see you next time. And that's all we do. We
mhm.
keep it simple, stupid. Like that's all we do.
Yeah.
Marley will be back on the pod soon enough. Obviously, go follow him, check out everything that he does, because he has so many more guests on, so many cool people. So, and I'm not talking about myself. That's quite, that's not my thing to be talking about myself like that, but like
No, talk about
genuinely
yourself
cool people.
because you're cool. Because
No,
you're cool. And
I,
yeah.
I, that's anxiety right there. So peace and love. But it's been a great time. Apparently, I'm gonna go watch Paddington. I'm gonna go watch
Mhm.
Wonka probably, and then I'm gonna watch
Mhm.
Bob's Burgers. Yo, real quick, we got 4 minutes. Tell me your favorite episode of Bob's Burgers you can remember off the dome.
Oh shoot. I
Just
I haven't watched the
any.
show in quite some time.
This is how you know I'm obsessed. One of my favorite episodes is, let's see, it's always the Louise ones. I love Louise, and she's always the
Mhm.
one who has the most to learn out of all the kids.
Mhm.
And no matter what she does, I'm like, that's me. Sometimes I'm a hard-headed person, but like I've got to learn those lessons. And it's always her older sisters like Tina, like forcing her to learn.
Mhm.
And it's wholesome. That's another wholesome thing. Go watch Bob's Burgers then.
I just hearing you talk about that just makes me realize I need to go watch Bob's Burgers more. I
Nah,
like
I
the
got
movie.
you. I got you.
I like
Bob's Burgers 2 coming soon on the
what?
next year. They announced the movie last week.
That's great. I love that. I love the musical from the opening musical for the movie. It's really
They
great.
they do have great musical stuff because they have a great cast that sings also. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, I don't know, I have to be in the mood for that sort of musical, but like they do awesome stuff on Bob's Burgers. So
Mhm.
I'm excited to see that second movie.
Yeah. But
But next time we're going to be very serious. We're going to talk about what dog movie are we going to talk about? What I said a
dog
good dog.
Channing
No, we're
Tatum's
not
movie
gonna we're
Dog.
not gonna watch Dog.
No, I'm down to if you
Secret
want to
Lives
do
of Pets
Alien.
too.
If you want to do an Alien movie, we can talk about Aliens or Alien
No,
Resurrection.
no, we're gonna talk about Alien Romulus.
Yeah, oh, you know what? I'm down.
We're
I'm
gonna talk
down.
about it.
Let's do
Okay.
it.
There we go. Contemporary movie. Because I want to
Yeah.
talk about. Okay, we just decided that, y'all. Okay,
Just now. This is backroom talks right now. I
it
need to.
only took like 25 episodes for me to lose my mind. Apparently,
I need. It only took like 10 episodes for me on my podcast. I've completely lost my mind, but I need a reason to rewatch Alien Romulus. So
I do
I'm
too.
down. Yeah.
Okay, so Alien Romulus coming on the pod in July. I'm putting out dates already. You
Yeah.
don't be see if anybody doesn't know. I plan incessantly. Like my mind doesn't work any other way. Very type A sometimes. But peace and love.
Since we're
We will see y'all
promoting,
next time. I don't know. Yeah,
since we're
promote.
pro- since we're promoting like episodes coming up, everyone should go listen to the upcoming episode where Vakash is going to be on. We're doing the summer movie wager on the Real Lovers podcast.
Oh
We're
yeah,
going to be
it's
guessing
gonna be so much
the
fun.
we're going to be guessing the top 10 movies of summer 2025, and I'm totally going to win, just like
Oh,
I've
okay.
won. Well, quote unquote won. I didn't win,
I
but
think
but
I might lose. I think I did a very bad job because I was like
I
domestic
haven't seen
box
your list.
office. No,
I
it's kind of it's not good. It's good, like research wise, but I don't know if it's gonna turn out that way. We'll see.
We'll see, but be on the lookout for that. We're recording that next week, hopefully. But yeah, should
Okay,
be fun.
next week. Okay, cool. All right,
Yeah.
yo. We'll see y'all next time. We got some good pods coming.
Peace.
2025. Peace and love. Bye.
Bye. Peace. I'm off to see Mulholland Drive.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Cinema Pursuit. Cinema Pursuit is produced by Katie Nadell, Zach Nadell, and Vikas Patel. Special thanks to Cole Cooper for the intro and outro music. You can listen to Cinema Pursuit on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you may listen to podcasts. Follow us on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram at Cinema Pursuit Podcast, Twitter or X at Cin Pursuit Pod, and check out our subreddit, r/Cinema Pursuit.